Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Sorry it's been a while since my last video. This is a game I wanted to show, for a couple of reasons. This is from the U.S. Junior Girls Championship, currently being played in St. Louis, Missouri. They're playing the Junior Girls Championship and also the Junior Championship at the same time. The Junior Championship is open to all. The Junior Girls is only open to, of course, girls. And this is a very, very interesting game. Now, the game is interesting too, but the part that I want to show you the most is the end game when it comes up, because it's very, very instructive. As white, Martha Samadash, try that again, Sam Adashvili, and Emily Yu, I believe, or Ewan, or I believe it's pronounced as Asian. Now, the other reason why I show this game, because Martha is one of the top junior girl players in the country now, and she played here a few years ago, my little chess tournament here in upstate New York in Binghamton. I played against her. I lost that game, but I think I had a winning position, but I ended up losing out close to time, so I just gave it to her because she was new and a young kid, and I wanted to promote chess in the area, so rather than try to win that position, I just let her have it to give her a little encouragement. I should have played on, because now she's one of the top juniors in the country for girls. Anyway, Martha's a good kid. She's very shy. Her parents are very nice too. Anyway, let's get on with it. It's going to be a Gucko piano, and I'll go through the opening here. I'm not really big on opening theory here in my chess videos. There's tons of videos for that. This is all standard stuff. A lot of it's very similar, as you see here, with the pushing of the pawn here. It's very similar in structure in a way to the reload pay lines. Another thing too is interesting. The Gucko piano, or Hungarian defense, or whatever you want to call it, seems to be very much back in style. You know, it's funny, chess openings are like clothing styles. They all come back. I mean, the Petrov came back, the Berlin came back, now the Gucko piano came back, and once it starts getting played at the top level, it seems to filter down into these games here at this level. Anyway, enough of my ramblings. Knight a3, bishop e6, takes. Now, those double pawns aren't that big of a deal for black, because black's got a very solid center. Off screen is my computer, and gives about a third of a pawn advantage to white. We'll call it even. Knight c4, which was the whole intent of going to a3. Queen comes over. That's interesting, the queen move. Now, it's also the computer move, so I'm assuming all these young ladies are still in book. Queen e8, it's scary that these young people, young girls and boys, are so booked up. I mean, it is absolutely frightening. One of the young men was interviewed later. He played in the regular junior championship. He's from Oklahoma, and there's very little chess going on in Oklahoma. Now, they travel around a lot, but I got to tell you the truth. As much as the internet has hurt chess clubs, and maybe some small tournaments like mine, it has opened the game up to anybody, anywhere. I mean, you can give lessons on Skype. So for the game itself, it has done wonderful, wonderful things. Bishop e3, takes. Like I said, those double pawns, look at that pawn mass in the center here. Now, this is really something. And this is a pawn mass. I mean, look at this. Sorry about my arrows, they're a little screwy there, but look at that pawn mass. We'll see how that works out. Queen to h5. Interesting. Now, I'm looking at the computer off screen here. That's not a move I would have picked. I probably think that very human move is d5 for black. Just opening things up. But looks like black wanted to keep things closed for a little while. Queen to b3 is interesting for a couple of reasons. I like queen to b3. They say, well, just go pawn here and it's worth it. But this knight now, this queen is now on this diagonal. And that could be a very big deal. But instead, Martha decided to go knight to h2, which is fine. Black didn't want to trade queens. If she had taken after rook takes d5, knight d2, it's a little bit advantage for black, believe it or not. But went queen to g5, knight goes back to f3, knight goes, they did a twofold repetition. I don't know why, they're only on move 15, 16. The only thing I can think of is they're trying to get some time because this is a plus 30-second increment per move, but this early in the game, I doubt it. I think they're just feeling each other out to see if one will draw. And black decides to go queen g6. And now knight g4. Which is kind of the same thing, but not. Now it puts the question to black. I think black should take. But she made the second best move, knight to d7. Knight to d2. Now the yellow knight's going to come in. Knight c5. Now this is getting complicated. 4 knights, 4 rooks, and all 16 pawns. Wow. This takes a lot of calculation. Things can go wrong very, very quickly. What to do? What to do? Martha decides to go d4. Now this is starting to get really complicated. Rook takes. Queen takes. Rook comes over. Now that's interesting because there's a lot going on here. A lot going on. I don't see why knight takes e4 is a possibility. Then after the queen to d3, that becomes very uncomfortable. Now you've got to move the king to guard the queen. In other words, if knight takes, queen comes here, hitting this. Now you've got to move the king either here or here. Then the rook's going to swing over, and it's a big pain in the behind. So that free pawn isn't so free. Rook to f8, hitting the queen first. Queen to b1 to guard the pawn now twice. Knight to d7. Looks like Martha's a little bit backed up here. She's got her rook on a1 doing basically nothing. Her queen stuck on b1, has to guard the pawn. So she's going to suffer for a little bit here. Let's see how she does. Queen to d3, bring the queen up a little bit. At least do something besides sit in the back row. h5 to hit the knight. Knight goes back to h2. Now the knight comes up. Black looks really good here. But it only shows a quarter pawn advantage on the computer, so looks can be deceiving. Now the knight comes up. d5. Finally, a pawn break. Knight takes, d takes, knight takes, pawn takes, queen e2. And just like that, all the knights are gone. And the biggest pain in the ass. Rook and queen endings with 14 pawns. Good freaking luck. I love the end game. It's my favorite part of chess. It's my strongest part of my game. I'm not great, but I'm better at it than the openings in the middle game. But these kind of end games are a nightmare. Now black's going after the pawns. Rook d1. Queen takes. Rook f1. Queen d5. And I think Martha's struggling a little bit, but not too badly. She's down a pawn, but she's really okay. Rook takes, queen checks, king g8, queen e2. She's just going to wait and see. Now, she is really hurting here. Of course, wants to trade queens because you can't catch the pawn, it will queen. But she does anyway because the king can come up just in time. Now let's go back here for a minute. You're black, and you see that scenario where the king can capture the e-pawn. You're a pawn up now. Why give it back if you don't have to? I don't know if I would. Here, to guard the pawn. Queen's guarding it anyway. Maybe go here. There's a lot of other things I think that black could have done, and I'm very surprised when she went queen d3. Takes, takes. King comes up. King f7. King comes over. Up. Let's go through here. Now this is the part of the video that I think is going to be the most instructive. Here we are, symmetrical pawns. Damn near exactly. The only difference is, if this pawn goes back a square, it'd be exactly the same. And a computer bears that out, 0.00. And this is the part that I wanted to talk about. It's the oxymoron in chess that the least number of pieces around the board, the more accurate you have to be. You're in a game with tons of pieces on the board. You make a small inaccuracy, you can always make up for it with another piece. In endings like this, especially kings and pawns, one small mistake can be lethal. See how this goes now, because it's crunch time. Now, as a player, they both know, they both believe, and rightfully so, that this position right here is dead drawn. Now, Martha is almost, as white, is almost 200 points lower in rating than Emily. Emily, as black, is 2215, and Martha is 2040. If I'm Martha, I'm going to play on. Or some just like to say, well, I'll draw a high-rated player, but these kids are very competitive, so they're going to play on. So she goes h4. Now that blocks, of course, any movements by this pawn because of the en passant. b3. King and pawn innings especially are all about two things: tempos and opposition. Opposition meaning your opposition to force out the enemy king. White forces is holding the square, black can't move there. b6, she just slowly figure out. Now Martha goes king to e2, and I don't know if I would have backed off. I would have gone king to e4 in a millisecond. Absolute millisecond. Because now the opposition is there and white king can't come to these two squares. But she goes c6 first. King d3. King d5. See the opposition? Doesn't want the king to get in. b4. King comes over. King e2. Now she goes king e4. Now it's a small advantage for black on the computer, but is white going to run out of tempos? Because what can happen is white goes here, black's king gets in. Okay? But if white goes here, black has to go here, here, it can't get in, see? Because all of these squares are guarded. So the opposition and the pawns are helping keep black's king out. King to d2 so she can shuffle, hoping that she is going to get black in Zugzwang. c5. Pawn takes. Pawn takes. And this is where I think black loses it. In fact, I know it's where black loses it. Or excuse me, white loses it. What's white afraid of? Well, having the king come in and grab this pawn. Or the king to come around and get this pawn. So what white should do is play king to e2 and to shuffle back and forth. But Martha, unfortunately, goes c4. And to give you an idea, folks, it went from a less than half-point advantage for black to a 9-point advantage instantly. That's a full queen. The game is over. King e2 probably would have saved it. She went c4. Now you go g6. Just keep that. She's got to move the king back to e2. No other choice. Now you go g5. King d2. And what do you do, folks? Two very good moves here. e5 looks good, right? Wrong. e5 draws. Black has two very good moves here. Stop the video and check it out. She goes king f5. Now king e5, I think would have been just as good if she went here. But she went king f5, and now it's over. Watch. g4, h takes, king takes, king f1, king g3. Thinking, okay, I want to draw this, right? Wrong. e5. Running out of tempos. King, e4, king, h3, takes, takes, king f2, and now you see the triangulation on the king. Everybody would go here. Everybody. If you're white, what do? You have no choice. If you go here, here comes the triangulation. If you go here, king comes here, you lose the pawn, the game is over. Let's go back. If you go king f1, what do? King g3. So you go king here and go king here, and you're back at the same thing again. King has to move away. King. And you lose the pawn again. The triangulation is the opposition, keeps the other king away. So that's where Martha Samadashvili resigns. Excellent, excellent endgame. One of the hardest endgames there is. I feel bad for Martha. She's a nice kid. This was probably a heartbreaker for her because she had a dead draw against a much higher rated opponent. So there's the lesson. Study your king and pawn endings. In fact, go through this video again and what I like to do is just take and put them on a regular board and a table. I'm old-fashioned. I'm old, so I like to look at pieces instead of just a video on a computer screen. And put the position up and try to figure out why c4 for white was the losing move. And there you have it, folks. A very good game, very instructive ending from the Junior Girls U.S. Championship 2018. I hope you enjoyed it. Chess is it's an unforgiving game, and this is a classic example of it. And as I always say, folks, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.